Hello, everyone. It's Michelle Maher here, and I'm here today joined with Julia Suppa. Thank you so much, Julia, for giving me your time today to talk about these challenging times that we're going through and keeping a positive mindset while pivoting in your business. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Michelle.
If you want to just give us a few words about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching. My name is Julia Suppa. I am a content creator and strategist. I have a company called Suppa Media. I was a television producer and host for about 15 years. And so I now have my own business where I help other people manage their content. I am also a blogger and influencer, if you like to use that word. My blog is Simply Suppa, and I write a lot about what makes me happy and keeping positive and things that fill my life with joy and inspiration.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much for joining me today. That's definitely something very important right now as we have all come to running our businesses online. That really is the only avenue right now. As I was saying earlier, I felt very much consumed by the fear when this first started, this whole pandemic, and everything just kept shifting hour by hour, day by day. And the first, just before March break there, and then through March break, that seemed like 6 months long or something, going back thinking about it. So I decided to start these interviews, which I've been doing, and just talking to people so that, everybody could share their expertise and share what they're going through, so that we realize we're all going through the same thing. We're not alone. And so I feel that now it's been 3 months and we've kind of come to this sort of a new normal, as it were. Not that I think I like that term, but so essentially, how was the experience for you when this first started? Have you you were working from home before?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned this roller coaster of emotions. There's definitely roller coasters of emotions every single day. No 2 days, no 2 weeks has been the same. At first, it was March break, and it was kind of like, okay, I was looking at my circles of people, and friends of mine were posting, these really in-depth schedules of what they were going to do with their children and how they were going to fill their day every single day. And work-wise, my work hadn't really changed all that much to start. As the weeks progressed, it became a little bit more serious on the kid front, and I have two young children, they're 8 and 6. It was like, okay, this is actually a reality. We need to really hone in what we're doing with the kids, but hey, we also have this business. I was working from home, as you mentioned prior. I've been working from home for 2.5 years, but when other people who don't normally work from home now work from home, there's a different dynamic. And because my kids aren't home when I'm working from home, you have a lot more flexibility in your schedule. So there's all these added challenges, and they're not necessarily always bad challenges. I was able to have my husband home with me for quite a few weeks full time, there were some really nice moments in there. And there were moments that we could spend together, and we could divvy up our children's schoolwork, for example, or one of us could start dinner while the other one had a meeting. So we really tag teamed. And every week as this shifts, those emotions go up and down. The kids may not want to do more school as the weather gets nicer. And now that businesses are starting to reopen, I really need to kind of amp up what I'm doing. So we really have to shift, and it's emotional. And there have been days where I think, oh my goodness, are we going to recover from this? Are my clients going to recover from this? How do we get through the next, oh my goodness, 3 more months? We still have another 3 more months before September. So it's, how have we done it? One day at a time. That's how we've done it. One day at a time. And I try not to think too far in advance. It's like, let's get through the day. Let's get through the week. And actually the weeks have been going by fairly quickly, which is a good thing and a scary thing all at once, I think.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you mention that because I feel like the weeks are going by really quickly now. Just I don't even know where last week went.
Hmm.
Um, and that's been a consistent message through these interviews that I've been doing. Everybody said that taking it one day by day, one day at a time, with so much uncertainty out there and so much uncertainty with the future. Um, like really there's nothing you can do, there's no planning you can do
Yeah.
uh
And
to
I think,
because you don't know what's going to happen.
yeah. And from a planner, like from a type A who likes to have a schedule and a plan, that's very, very challenging. And you have cash flow projections and all these business projections and goals. And it kind of hurts to throw it all away because you don't know. At the beginning, I was watching the news 3 times a day, watching all the conferences, every single press conference. After about a month, I thought, you know what? This is just exhausting me even more and I'm a news person, I'm a journalist, but it was just that up and down of not knowing, okay, are we ready? Are we not ready? Do we have to wear a mask? Do we not have to wear a mask? What businesses are open today? And this back and forth. And now I get the news when I turn it on and I want to hear something in particular, but I'm not so fixated on every little detail.
And that was exactly my experience as well. And I think it was just because of the extreme uncertainty, and we've never seen anything like that before.
Absolutely.
For me, I think when sports got canceled, that was like, I couldn't believe that. Even though I'm not a sports fan, I knew that's like huge, right?
Serious business when the sports get canceled.
So I was watching the updates, and but I stopped probably around probably the same time you did, and now I'm able to. There's enough people sharing things on Facebook and friends, and that you can get the news from, because I do know some people that continue to constantly watch the news, and I don't think they're going to stop. But what a difference that did make.
Yeah, I mean, I still consume. We all consume information in various ways. I still turn it on. I watched today for a little bit, but I'm not fixated. And I don't let it kind of dictate the way I'm going to live the rest of, my business for the next week or two. Or, I try and keep on what I have to do on top of all of the messages and the warnings and the news.
Yeah, exactly right. It's not going to serve you well to get into fear mode. That doesn't help anything, and worrying doesn't serve anything either, because
Yeah.
all you can do is stay safe and know what you are required to do, and know, like you say, who's opening and what stage we're at in
Mm-hmm.
terms of that. When it comes to content creation and online and all that stuff, it's really important now for people to, there's some of the brick and mortar stores that I know, store owners have taken this time to create an online website where they didn't have one before. And this is really important to serve and educate during this period of time, I believe.
Yeah, well, so I think at the beginning, a lot of businesses thought, and even schools thought, okay, this is going to be a blip. Maybe this is going to be a week
2
or
weeks.
two. It'll be a little vacation. We'll pick it up and we'll be good, right? But as the weeks progressed and businesses were losing thousands of dollars, then people really needed to step it up. And it was like, okay, what can we do quickly and efficiently, especially if you have a brick and mortar that you could sell something? And we saw restaurants doing like pickups, takeout and pickups. I had some clients where we very quickly took photography of their products and uploaded an e-store or an e-boutique so that they could make online sales, and curbside pickup and curbside drop off or porch pickup. So really shifting and being open to that. It's challenging because you have to flip your brain. especially if you're so used to doing everything in person. You have to flip your brain, and you have to be open to try it.
Open, exactly. That's the thing. And I've seen some businesses that are, that have been quite innovative. And then I've heard stories of others that have said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. And so to that point, I think we've had 3 months, and there are a lot of things that I've done as an individual and as a business. And there's a lot of things that I haven't done as an individual and as a business. So, I think everyone has to cut themselves some slack, but realize that this is also a really interesting period of opportunity. We talked before our chat here about all the courses that are available online, and everyone has a webinar or a seminar, so the resources are available should you wish. You don't have to do everything. And that goes for your business as well. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to have an online store, but this is a great time to try it, because you don't have those in-person clients taking up all of your time. So this is a great time to cross off that to-do list, when I have time list.
Exactly.
And maybe you don't have the funds to do it full out the way you envisioned, but this is still a great time to plant the seed and get started.
Right. And as you mentioned, some, depending on what your business is and whether or not you have free time now where you didn't have it before. And going forward, if you do have that online store, that will be a complement to your brick and mortar location.
For sure.
Just expanding your business.
For sure. It's never a waste, right? Yep. It's there. It's now an added bonus to your business.
Yeah. And technology is not going away.
No.
And I think online shopping is not going away. As we've seen it going through the roof with Shopify becoming such a valuable stock. And even I have a friend whose daughter manages a store, is one of the Sephora's. And she said Sephora's been going crazy with online shopping during this period of time. So online is definitely here to stay, and it's a matter of figuring out the best way to serve your clients.
Yeah, and it's how you fit into that sphere.
Right, true, that as well. So I have seen some hair salon owners that have, even mine as well. She mixed up some dye for me to do my own and drop off at the porch. And I've also seen some hair salon owners that are doing coaching through Zoom and coaching somebody through cutting their kids' hair or their spouse's hair. So people like that, have adapted to the situation. And then, of course, some are already being allowed to reopen. And unfortunately, the announcement today did not allow Toronto to open, which is frustrating, as I am in Toronto. But so there's definitely a lot of opportunity for innovation and looking at things differently. Again, things that you had on your list, like you said, where you didn't have the time to do it.
It also reminds us, looking back, hindsight's always 20/20, but it always reminds us not to have all of our eggs in that one basket, right? Because when that basket gets taken away so suddenly, like it did, you don't really have anything to fall back on. So it's always good to kind of spread out even your business so that you have different markets and you have different audiences and different ways to make money and get your messages out there.
Right. Yeah, that's true for sure. I think people are realizing that too. As you say, it was taken away from us and so quickly and so unexpectedly, I guess. For myself, I had vendor events planned for March, April, May, tables booked, supplies bought, making jewelry to get ready for those events. And then one by one, of course, they were all canceled. I know I had an event planner on one of these interviews as well, and she had her big event in April that's been postponed now. So, and then again, and same with the travel agents, right?
There's so many industries that are hurting, and a lot that may not be able to pivot as well as others, unfortunately. I think I am in an interesting situation, a positive situation where I can, because most of my business is done virtually or online anyway, I am still able to work, but the types of messages, the types of content that we're producing now is different. So it's also wrapping my head with my clients' heads around to kind of come up with different strategies and different ways to tell their stories and what they're offering and what they're doing in this pandemic.
Right. And when you talk about that, can you give us some examples of what you might be talking about in terms of, I know storytelling is stories are very important, and relationship building and getting to know the person and that kind of thing. But
yeah, so well, let's start with relationship building, because that's an important one. You know, this is I don't know if you want to use the word traumatic, but definitely a sudden and shocking time, especially at the beginning. I think now we're kind of used to it and now we're starting to reopen, but at the beginning it was all very unknown and very scary. And so establishing that relationship with your audience, whether it's through Facebook or Instagram or a phone call or a web update or a newsletter to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Because our clients are our livelihood. And when you don't see your clients and when you don't see them making purchases, that hurts on both ends. You really start to miss each other, right? And you don't maybe even realize how much you valued them until they're gone. So establishing that relationship or maintaining that relationship, even in a pandemic, is so important. It doesn't mean because, Michelle, you don't have vendor shows, that doesn't mean you still can't showcase your beautiful jewelry.
Right.
And maybe you talk about the different gemstones and the different stones in your work. So you're still sharing information. You're doing these little interviews, which is a great idea, a great way to connect with your people. So there's different ways. I think when businesses thought, okay, our business is now closed, that means we are closed. And that's not necessarily the right way of thinking. Your business might be closed temporarily, but there's still lots of ways to connect with your people. Maybe you're doing little tutorials, virtual tutorials. Maybe you're offering, like I said, curbside pickup. Maybe you're telling a joke of the day. Maybe you're sharing your own workspace so that people can see where your new office is and what you're doing. Maybe you're doing virtual training or Q&A. If you're a doctor or a dentist, maybe you have a weekly Q&A session where people can message and ask questions.
Right.
So there's still lots of ways to engage and interact, even though your office or your business may be closed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the most important thing is keeping top of mind and keeping that relationship there with your clients so that they're still there when you are allowed to open up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of content, social, any sort of, dialogue back and forth with your clients is very much like a relationship. I equate it to dating a lot of times, right? You're going to meet someone for the first time, you're not going to have a first kiss on the first meet necessarily. Maybe that'll happen once, but chances are it's not going to happen all that much. So you're courting each other. You're getting to know each other. You're building trust and a rapport. And then if you just disappear, aka modern ghosting, if you just vanish, well, that person's kind of left, your customer is kind of left hanging. And so then they're going to go find someone else. And so now that you're ready to reopen, it's like, hey, I'm ready again. Well, that person's gone. So you need to make sure that that client or that person that you're having the relationship with is maintaining contact. And you're maintaining contact. It shows that you value your relationship.
Right. Yeah. And going forward as well, I think that it's going to be a long time before we are back to having the same live events that we used to have.
For sure.
So a lot of people and networking groups are having their meetings online now, virtual networking. one of the events that I had, where I did have a vendor table, they're going to proceed with an online event in the fall, and with hopes next year that they'll have an in-person one. But I think that those online events may be something that will be staying after the fact, even when we do go back to live events, because they can capture a much larger audience. Geography doesn't matter. Physical distance doesn't matter anymore. And so it kind of will complement each other. So really, I think that the whole online space, it's a matter of figuring out how to pull that into your business and how to navigate going forward.
And what was going to work?
A temporary thing, I guess, is the thing. We thought March break, that there was 2 weeks, we were to April 6th, and that was kind of it. It was like, oh, the hair salons and nail salons have to shut down for 2 weeks. So we thought it was that. But going forward, even when these places are as they're reopening, it's a different business too. It's much less volume than they had before. So again, going forward, you got to kind of figure out a way to navigate a new future.
Absolutely. And it's new doesn't always mean bad. And sometimes it's different. It's different, right? And sometimes change is very challenging, especially when you're losing lots of money. And I can sympathize with fellow business owners, especially ones who have rent to pay and stock. But I guess, you know, we have to think positively. We have to think that, okay, maybe in the grand scheme of life, maybe this will just be a blip. But maybe it's a blip that we're going to really learn from and think about all of the positive things and the good things that can come out of a crisis.
Right.
So that's what I keep thinking about. And I think that hopefully in the next 10 years, I can look back and think, you know what, I got 6 months with my kids that we would not have had otherwise. Right. So that's kind of what I think about when I'm lying in bed reflecting.
Right. Yeah. Because really it has given us a chance to slow down, because we don't have those distractions from outside. Even as things are reopening, I don't find myself wanting to rush back the same way, except when they finally do open the hair and nail salon for me. But before we were going at such a crazy pace, I know for myself, it was always thinking of what's the next thing I have to do and the next thing I have to do. And, you know, now there's no more of that next thing I have to do the same way. There might be Zoom meetings and, you know, webinars and whatever, things like that online, but no rushing in your car to go places in the same manner. So we've really been given the chance to reflect on how we were living our life and new things, new habits that we've developed over this period of time, and what we want it to look like going forward.
For sure. And I'll add to that a little bit of thought of abundance and gratitude. I was joking with my husband. I think I actually blogged about it on my Simply Suppa, excuse me, before the pandemic started. I was, you know, measuring all the spaces in my house because I wanted to knock down a wall, or I wanted to get a new kitchen, or I wanted to do this and this and that. And, you know, I felt like we were drowning in this house. It wasn't big enough, or it wasn't the house that I wanted. And then when you're stuck in this house, I was looking around thinking, you know what? It's not a bad house. It's a house. Like, we have a home. We have a backyard. We have space to run around, where people who are maybe in an apartment or a condo, they don't have that. And so that's a really nice thing to have. And we're safe. We have a space to live. And so practicing that gratitude, thinking, you know what, it's not maybe as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, I think we've really realized what we have and what we have to be grateful for in this period of time. Just looking back, there were things that we took for granted that were removed, like going and sitting in a Starbucks or some other coffee shop and having a coffee with somebody, a coffee meeting. You know, it's you definitely took that for granted, and
Mhm.
expect that that would be taken away from you. And like when you mentioned that about people in apartments or condos, I don't know, I'm sure that's been very difficult to navigate, getting outside, because really it's, you need to get outside in nature, you need to get that break. And now, of course, now the weather is very nice, so it's really nice for getting outside. But initially, when it started as well, there were a lot of people getting out into nature where they wouldn't have before, and
For sure.
actually noticing nature and realizing, like noticing the trees when they were walking, and things like that. It's it revitalizes you, right? Nature is a way
For sure.
to revitalize, self-care, things like that. And self-care is another thing that's very important during this period of time, especially us as moms that are at home. Sorry, where everybody's at home and the kids are at home, and where can you, where can you get your alone time now that everybody's here 24 hours a day?
Yeah, well, I think everyone's different.
Everybody's different. Yeah.
I've been trying to exercise as much as I can, even twice a week, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, going for a walk in the community. I really like gardening and spending time in the plants and planting flowers and stuff like that. So that's a time where I can zone out. And I think that's self-care as well. You know, we think about self-care being our nails and our hair and taking a bath, but anywhere where you can kind of just zone out and be yourself, just right? Without any other. But last week I said to my husband, you know, you're on, I'm going for a drive. And he said, where are you going? I said, I don't know. I just need, you know, an hour. So recognizing that you need that time and you need that space is important, and it's okay. You know, it's okay if you don't open up the computer at 8 o'clock every day, or at 9 o'clock, or at 10 o'clock at night. It's okay, because we're human. And right now I think we're all on superhuman drive, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I wake up, I have, you know, kids, school, my own work, you take breaks throughout the day, dinner time, kid time, and then I log on again at night, sometimes until midnight. And, you know, that's exhausting. You can't do that every single day. You just can't. Something has to give, and it can't be your mental health, and it can't be your, you know, your strength and your stamina.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's easy to fall into that trap. I found myself at probably was like mid-April that I was kind of falling into that, wanting to sign up for everything and going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting, webinar, whatever, with no chance to recoup from them. No chance, which also means no chance to learn anything from them. Because if you don't process whatever you've learned from, you know, it's no different from any learning. You got to have the time to process it and go through it so that you can actually learn something that you'll remember.
Yeah, and arguably, I think sometimes virtual meetings and webinars take more out of you energy-wise than an in-person conversation, because there's a lot of blanks that we're filling in right now, right? You know, we're sitting here, but we have to really amp up our energy, because we don't, even though we're face to face, we're not body to body, and there's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Right. And I leave some meetings thinking, whew, that did it to me. That meeting exhausted me.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to almost overcompensate for the fact that you're not face to face.
Right. Yeah. And there's been quite a few articles shared saying that about Zoom fatigue or whatever, because it's different when you're on video the whole time. It's like you got to be on all the time.
Absolutely.
And that is yeah, exactly.
Especially with groups of people, if you ever look down, it's like, oh, are they going to think that I'm not paying attention? Or if I look over here, are they going to know that my kids are in the corner, you know, pouring water on the floor or doing something? So It's all of that.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's, again, that's why it's important to take that time and give yourself the grace to say it's okay. It's okay, because we're dealing with a lot.
And we've never done this before.
And everybody's dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
Not only us, but the kids as well. The kids, especially at the beginning, not understanding why they can't see their friends, why they can't see their grandparents, and things like that. It's been challenging for sure. My daughter's 17, and it was very difficult at first because she would hang out at Starbucks after school with her friends and go to the mall, and then there's no mall, and so it's been it's hard for them as well.
Oh, for sure. Probably even harder.
And we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like, in the future for them with having gone through this. But like you say, going back to the fact that there's so much to be grateful for, the time together, the having time to reflect and just be and learn a new skill if you want to do something different in your business that you've always wanted to do, anything like that. There's so much, and there's so much opportunity and innovation.
For sure. Yeah, this has been
just a time to think of think outside the box.
Mm-hmm. I know. Well, we talked about miracles coming out of crises and revolutions coming out of stuff like this. But for people that are shifting careers or have lost their jobs or their businesses are changing, sometimes we need to be forced to move because we would never have done it otherwise. So when you think about that as a business person, maybe in your own business or as an employee that maybe you lost your job, maybe there's something better there. And if this hadn't happened, you would never have explored that option. So I like to think that, everything happens for a reason. I know that's a cliche, but if this didn't happen, what would we have done? We would have just carried on. And maybe that's not necessarily a great thing either.
No, because when you start thinking of what we were doing to the earth, carrying on as we were, and the stress and the mental health of everybody, just think now with people not having to commute and go through that traffic. Yeah, exactly.
Well, once you have a taste of something else, you may not want to go back to the way it was, right?
Exactly, right. Some people are also realizing that maybe I wasn't happy doing that job or anything like that. And this gives you the chance to think, what do you really like doing? And with the online space, there's a lot of opportunity to explore those possibilities.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
For sure. So again, it's looking for the silver lining. Everything does happen for a reason. I believe that firmly as well. And I don't think we could have just kept going on the way we were. It was like somebody said in another interview, we were just human doings, not human beings. We were just go. And
well, yeah, it's that the rat on the wheel, right? You're just kind of always going and the world is spinning by you, but you haven't stopped to actually see everything around. So I think that's what we've spoken about, all the nature and my gardening and people planting their own vegetables and, going to sit in a park 6 feet away from one another because you miss that human interaction. So allocating time to see your loved ones where maybe people are seeing their loved ones more now, whether it's virtually or 2 meters away than they were 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Right.
You value different things now.
Yeah, and we will. We definitely realize what's important to us at this after this experience that we are going through and continue.
For sure. I agree.
So, thank you so much, Julia, for your time.
Thank you, Michelle.
I will put your information underneath this interview. in terms of your blog and whatever other social media information you'd like up there.
Thank you. If anyone needs anything, please feel free to reach out.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day, and look forward to when we can see each other in person.
For sure. Thanks, Michelle. Take care.